Hello, good evening, and welcome. I'm John Lazarus with Stories Matter and D&D Publishing. The Grapes of Wrath, The Jungle, The Handmaid's Tale, Tech War, Modelland. All classics rich with commentary on important social issues of their day. From labor rights, to suffrage, to making sure people can't clone fashion models, these books have sought social justice for real-world issues while also being entertaining pieces of fiction in their own right. Of course, not all stories do this. Some stories are just trying to excite us with good old-fashioned space battles and courtroom dramas. But if you really want people to respect you and think you're smart, and still not have to learn a bunch of difficult math or some shit, weaving social commentary in your writing is a great way to do this. It could even be argued that fiction is a great way to sway public opinion on real-world topics, perhaps even more than a newspaper. If you're a good writer, your reader will sympathize with your characters and their plight, whereas most people just shrug about all the people who die on the news. Upton Sinclair used his fiction to get labor laws changed, and as I mentioned before on the channel, my novel, Sleight of Hand, led to a 3% decrease in hate crimes against pygmy street performers. You don't have to be an especially progressive person necessarily. You simply need to have an issue that's near and dear to your heart. Well, my political views are a bit complicated. I think my weapons arsenal would at least prove I'm no bleeding heart liberal. But I hate seeing immigrants in the United States demonized for trying to find a better life for them and their family. The ones I hired at D&E Publishing were mostly great workers, always diligent and positive, even though it was frustrating to have to hire an interpreter to translate their break-room conversations recorded by my hidden wiretap that I put there when I thought someone was poisoning me. Anyway, my novel, Storming the Gates of Heaven, really shined a light on the economic and cultural hardships immigrants face. We'll try to build a better world, or at least do some virtue signaling, on this edition of Stories Matter. Today's video is brought to you by the American Civil Liberties Union. It's no hyperbole to say that free speech has been under attack lately. While it's natural to want to dox people who disagree with you online, or at the very least give your personal information to an online scam meant to create a database of people who you disagree with, it's important to remember how essential free speech is to civil society. The ACLU fights for the rights of all Americans, good, bad, and somewhere in between. I can't tell you how many times they saved D&E Publishing when we published a book we thought was a standard murder mystery, but was actually a secret recruitment pamphlet for the Ku Klux Klan. Well, actually I can tell you, it was twice. Still, very glad for their support in helping not get the book pulled from bookstores and public libraries. Click the link in the description to donate. Now you might be asking, John, do I really want to go down this path? What if I piss off the wrong people? Do I really want to have to take dead animals out of my mailbox every morning and then have to bury them in my yard because the game warden at the local park says you can't dump them there anymore, even though you don't see why not? I mean, you're just returning them to nature. Unfortunately, just like traffic, taxes, and alimony, social issues are something you can't avoid. Look, people are going to hate you no matter what you do. I mean, I once tried to show solidarity with battered women by attending one of their meetings so I could hear their stories and be more sensitive in my writing. But they said that first, men usually aren't allowed at those meetings, and second, personal firearms absolutely aren't allowed at those meetings. I tried making up for it by writing Addressing in Disguise about a woman who murders an intruder and then gets a taste for bloodlust going on a rampage to kill 40 male sex traffickers along the eastern seaboard. But the support group didn't like that because I guess any kind of violence is a trigger for them. And a lot of my old fans didn't like the idea of a woman who used a knife to do anything besides carve a turkey. So when you get down to it, there's just no pleasing some people. Just be true to yourself. Let's see how we can approach these issues delicately and powerfully through our fiction. Tip 1. Make your issue part of the story, not the whole story. Your first goal as a writer, besides making a lot of money, should always be to write a compelling story with memorable characters and engrossing drama. Any asshole can just say how they want society to look. That's what Twitter and podcasts and the White House press room are for. But unlike the White House press secretary, a fiction writer has to be able to hide the fact that they're full of shit. Let's say you want to write a story about gun violence and how we need more gun control. I mean, I'd think you're crazy, but that's beside the point. Now give me a story about a man who lives through Vietnam. His arc should be about dealing with his PTSD of the horrors he experienced. Maybe he does this by befriending a nun or coaching a little league team or something. And then you can kill him at the end in a random act of street gun violence, saving the nun or the little league team in the process. So you have your social commentary about gun violence while the narrative stays true to the character's arc. Tip 2. Decide if you want to use a metaphor or be direct. Now, to be honest, this is good advice for anything in life. When I ran office meetings and had to talk about important issues to my employees, sometimes I'd yell at them to clean the break room because the break room was dirty. But sometimes I'd yell at them to clean the break room because it was a metaphor for the sloppiness of our editing and press releases. If you want to directly tackle the issue in your novel, that could work great. But then you have to make sure your research is impeccable, which will require access to a college library, a place that some people might be banned from for various reasons. Now, if you want to go the metaphorical route, just make sure your audience is able to connect the issue in your story with the issue in real life. Fahrenheit 451 is obviously about censorship, and The Expanse is about prejudice and how billionaires always fuck things up for everyone else. But audiences were confused by my sci-fi novel, Defrosted. I thought it was clearly about science going too far. In the book, a group of scientists clone a murderous Santa Claus. But many of my right-wing readers took it as an allegory for the war on Christmas. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll leave you with this week's This Day in Literary History. See you on the next one.